Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Again, this is our weekly show. My name is Scott, and with me, as always, is Trina, author of Hope for the Flowers, but so much more. And you have just so many interesting facets of your life that you know you share from time to time. So I'm grateful for these weekly meetings that we have, these weekly chats that we have. Trina, what do you have for us this week?
Well, Scott, you had a quote that maybe you'd like to even say because I thought it really summed up this week pretty well. Do you want to? Do you feel like saying it or not? That quote?
Sure,
Go
sure.
ahead, because it's
It
we've. This is a week that was, man.
It was. Uh, this was actually attributed to Lenin, who said there are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. So you and I, before we came on live, were talking about how jam-packed this past week seems to have been, and for the several weeks to come, and then who knows what's going to happen.
You feel like you're on the edge of things, and the thing I care about most is that we don't expand war, which is just the worst thing that we can do. But I want to start out really with some signs of hope. And Hope for the Flowers itself is a sign of hope. And we can get more into that perhaps, but I have a few others. And Scott, I have my singular caterpillar here. And I hope that you can see what's going on. He's climbed up to the top. And I thought this morning he was flat out there on the top. Is it good view or should I turn it even more? Tell me when it's good, Scott.
Okay, we can see it just fine, the way it
Okay.
is.
Well, when they're done eating, they climb up to the top. And I thought he was done eating. But now he might be eating a little bit more of that leaf that's right at the edge of him because he's sort of bent down. Because the next thing this one will do, he will weave, and he maybe has done it already, weave an almost invisible little web where his tail parts are. And with his tail claspers, he clasps on it. Then he drops down, just holding on to that little nub and hangs for a day. He hangs just for a day. And then sometime tomorrow morning, if that's what he does today yet, he will turn into a chrysalis. So he'll be a chrysalis next Monday when we're on. And then 2 weeks from now, probably, he may be still a chrysalis or he might be coming out. I don't know. It can vary. It can vary according to the temperature, too. And it's been very, very hot here, and it still is very hot. I fortunately have a little fan overhead, which is, I don't have any other air conditioning. Then the other thing is the hope for resurrection. And my mother, this is a very big day for my mother because it's the feast of Mary Magdalene. I don't know, Scott, if you can see this well enough. That's my picture of my mother and what I did for her when she passed on. Life is changed, not taken away, which is also in my book, Hope for the Flowers. But on the other side, it seems sort of dark to me, Scott. So I'm not sure what's visible here for people.
We can
Um,
we can see it just fine.
you can see it okay.
I
Um,
think so.
you have my mother digging around the tombstone she had built when my father died 40 years before her. And and then out at the bottom is what she wanted. And so she asked me to make these relief sculptures of Jesus after the resurrection and Mary Magdalene reaching up to him, thinking he was the gardener, and him saying, "Don't cling to me. I have not yet risen to my Father. Uh, but go tell the others." So she's called the apostle to the apostles because she ran to those scared apostles in the upper room and said that the Lord has risen and is going ahead to you in Galilee. And so she became called the apostle to the apostles. She was also not the prodigal woman that people sometimes made her out to be, but made the central woman. She was a woman of means from Magdala, was probably one of the team that supported Jesus and the 12 apostles as they went around with their ministry for 3 years. So today is her feast day. And with the problems of the world today, I decided I should try to do more in a spiritual practice that after COVID, I kind of gave up my usual going to mass every day practice as a Catholic. And, but I went this morning, and I've been going quite often recently because of the dire condition our world is in at the moment. And I was delighted to see it was Mary Magdalene's feast day, which I hadn't realized till I got to church. So that was big. And I want to show you some other images I have for her, because she's been very important as a sign of hope and resurrection. So she's a little hard to see, and she's very heavy, but she's my one welded sculpture. And that's Mary Magdalene reaching up again, like in the other one. And here's the one that's exactly the same as the one on the tombstone that I showed you. So you can see the relative size against me. So it's a decent size there. And it should be polished up a bit on the high spots, and then the bronze will show through. So this is a bronze casting, and a bronze casting is usually as little bronze as they can manage, and so it's hollow on the other side. And so the original first casting was put on the tombstone. So just to share that with you, these are my Mary Magdalene images. And since the first part of my life, my adult life, was spent making spiritual images that people could be inspired to grow closer to God with, as part of the Grail movement that I was there, that helped earn some money for my movement as well. I was very interested this week to find that 3 people reached out to me about this particular little statue. It's just about 8 inches high. You can see it against me right now. And it's called ad sum. That's Latin for to be present, to be present before God, just surrendered. And I found a copy once in the John Denver Winstar place in Colorado when I lived out there I was out there, and I became vice president of Central Rocky Mountain Permaculture, but this was at the monastery there, the John Denver Geodesic Dome, which I never was in except for that one. And then the greenhouse nearby was one of these sitting, pretty deteriorated with the paint off of it, but the white plaster was still there. And so that was very gratifying to see. So this was very popular over the years, and to get 3 inquiries. So I looked up Trina Paula's sculpture, and my goodness, there's a lot of stuff there of people selling their sculpture probably at the end of their lives at different prices. And this was a fancy price place. It didn't even give you the prices there, just nice looking pictures, and they would give you 7 days free. And then you had to pay after that to be on this high class antiques platform. So I didn't do it because I didn't want to go further into that situation. I was just interested to see what was on the internet about this sculpture business, with 3 inquiries this month. So we have a few left in our warehouse around here. So if anybody's interested, I can supply a few of them. But it's not in production any place, nor is it advertised publicly any place for the new ones, for what's left from our production efforts. So I bring these images up today because of the situation of the world, actually. And when I think about what each of us can do and where we each have to also focus, besides any systemic changes that we might be in a position to help make, that help the world become more just and equitable and caring for the poor and the things that we know would be desirable, I think we have to all engage in our just dialogue with God, dialogue with the one who made us, the one who reaches out in love to us and gives us choices all of our lives. And so that's the most important thing to say today. And the caterpillar risking, I don't think they have much choice, but we do, risking to become a butterfly, risking that we are called to risk to become those butterflies that can carry the love of one flower to the other and drink of their sweet nectar. That means everyone we meet and every chance we get, that when somebody calls out in need to us, that we do our best to respond in some way or another, even if it's a wish or a prayer, if as is the case with so many of us who feel so far away from the ability to make much actual change. And so I'm extremely grateful that I can have the ability through the medium of Hope for the Flowers and the art that I have to make a difference in people's lives and to read the beautiful words that sometimes they write or let me know. That feels like doing something. So I'm very grateful. And Scott's part of that, who helps encourage me to stay with this 15 minutes a week to say things of sharing hope, which is what it's about. If we climb over others and get to the top of the pillar, we might be there for a very short time, but there's others right below us who are going to push us off and will die without ever becoming our full selves, which is very, very sad. Very, extremely sad. When life can be so wondrous if we become ourselves and drink the nectar of the flower in this wonderful exchange that we carry the love of one flower to the other. And we have pillars all our lives. I have to climb off whatever pillar I'm happy to be on right now, and you do too. So it's all our lives long. It's not just once like the caterpillar. This is at the end of their eating life. They've changed their coats 4 times. They've made smaller changes. And now this is the last one where they have to hang down for a day and then let the whole caterpillar thing of him go. And then the chrysalis there, and the butterfly is still inside. And by the way, it's called imaginal cells. The butterfly cells are already there. Imaginal cells. It's a beautiful word. So I thank you for watching, and God bless us all in this world. Maybe we have peace, and each of us do our work to become closer to God and closer to each other and be supportive during this difficult time. Amen.